What's going on, guys? Balkan Architect here, and in today's video we're talking about images and Revit. So we're going to be talking about bringing images into Revit in terms of either importing them, linking them up, or bringing them in as decals for various uses inside of Revit, and I'm just going to be showing you a different functionality and settings. Also, we're going to be covering taking images from Revit, so how to export images from Revit, either for plan views or 3D views, and how to set everything up in terms of that export from Revit. Now, before we jump into the tutorial, I would like to ask you to check out my website, balkanarchitect.com. I'm going to link it up just below this video in the description, and then also up in the cards above. That's where I have all of my Revit courses. So that's where I go really kind of step by step, slowly, and I cover many different Revit topics in detail. I have courses for beginners, intermediate level users, as well as advanced level users. So there's pretty much something for everybody there, and it's definitely the best place to start learning Revit. Also, there you can find some of my customized Revit templates. You can find some really high quality Revit families, as well as a plugin. So make sure to check it out. Also, make sure to like this video. It helps me out a lot, and make sure to subscribe, because not only does it help you not miss any of my future videos, but also it makes the alpaca happy. And come on, guys, let's make the alpaca happy. Okay, so now let's jump into Revit, and as you can see here, I am at Revit's home screen. So what I'm going to do now is just go here to models. I'm going to go to new, and then for the template file, I'm just going to be using my just the metric architecture template, just kind of the regular one that comes with Revit. So let's click OK, and let's let Revit open up. Now, quick thing to mention here, I am using Revit 2021. The reason for that is because when I go here to the Insert tab, here you'll see that I have this link image option. Now, this functionality was not available in Revit 2020 and before that, so if you want to have the option of linking up images, you have to have either Revit 2021 or newer versions, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so now let's cover importing images and linking up images and what's the difference. So what I'm going to do here is go first to link image, and that's going to just bring up the link image window, and here you just want to find that image on your computer, which is what I'm going to do now. Okay, so here you can see this is the image that I want to use. It's a home plan, so I'm just going to click open, and then it appears like this, and then you can just place it. Just like that. Now, once you place the image, you can resize it just like so. And then if you want to perhaps distort it a little bit, here you have the log proportions checkbox. So in the instance properties. So if I uncheck this, now I can kind of skew this and make it look terrible and lose the proportions. So I can just go back a few steps just to go back to the original one, and then I'm just going to log proportions because I prefer having them this way. Also here under dimensions, you can control the width and height numerically. So if you have a numerical value that you want to use, you can just type it in here. Now, in a lot of cases, you're not going to be able to use the numerical value because, as you can see, this image kind of exceeds the floor plan. So even if I knew the perhaps the distance from here to here, it still wouldn't help because this is measuring from here to here, or this is probably the height one, yeah. So the height is from here to here, so that doesn't work. So my best option for scaling images is to just select them, go here to the scale tool, and then here we have an option for a graphical scale, and this is what I prefer to use. So for example, here we know that the bed is probably about 2 meters, so I can just click here, and as you can see, it's a bit too long, so I can just click here and then reduce this down to 2000 millimeters or 2 meters, and now I know that this image is scaled properly. Also, when you're working with images, for example, in this case, you would probably be tracing over this image, and then it doesn't make sense to have it like this where you can accidentally move it or accidentally scale it. So what I suggest you do is you select the image, you place it wherever you want it to be placed, like this in the center, and then you select it, and then you go here to the Modify tab and you click on the Pin button, and now it's pinned in place. So now you can no longer accidentally move it or scale it until you unpin it, and then you can move it, and then you just pin it back in place. So I think that's a useful approach. Also, when you select it here under Other, we have the option to make it either the background layer or the foreground layer, and the same thing goes here. We have the Arrange, and then we can kind of play with that Arrange functionality. So what this basically does is if I start tracing over this, so if I start placing some generic walls here, for example, just like that. In most cases, you want this to stay as a background image. Now, if by any chance you might want to bring it up to the surface, you can select this and then change it to foreground and hit apply, and now as you can see, it's just masking those walls. You cannot see the walls from the image. You would have to make like a cross selection like this to see those walls. So that's just something to keep in mind. So I'm just going to select this and bring it to a background, just because I think it works a little bit better like this. Well, it's actually works a lot better like this. Also, one thing that I like to do in these cases where I'm working with walls, it's just a simple suggestion, is to select the wall, right-click, go to Override Graphics and View by category, so by wall category. And then I just like to give it a little bit of transparency. The reason for that is when it's non-transparent, then you cannot see where the openings are. So for example, this window, we probably wouldn't know that it's there, but now as this is transparent, now you can see them. You can see the walls, still they're fairly visible, but you can see the windows underneath. So that's just a recommendation, something that I do when it comes to tracing over images. Now I'm just going to go back like so, and we can perhaps delete the walls. We don't need them. Okay, so now let's talk about let's go to Insert, and then let's talk about linking and importing images and what's the difference. So now to explain that, let's go to Import Image, and I'm just going to import the same home plan image, place it here, let's scale it like so, and then place it like this. Perhaps it should be a bit bigger, but that's fine, doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm just going to place it here and then pin it in place. So when we have a situation like this, this is a link, and then this is just an import. In my personal experience, I haven't really noticed too much difference when it comes to functionality. So for example, if I go here to Manage Links and click, you'll see that we have both of those images. Now this status is or reference type is set to link, and this one is set to import, and that's pretty much the whole difference. So for example, if I were to, let's just OK out of this, if I were to make any changes to that image, and let me do that now really quickly. Let's make a small change to this image here. Okay, so you can see here I'm in Photoshop, so let's say that I just want to, let's say that I want to select this table, for example, and then let's say I want to move it here. So I'm just going to give it a quick move, perhaps rotate that, and then place the table here so I can have a bigger living room, and then I can just deselect that, and then let's move this couch or sofa. Let's move that all the way back here just to make a change to this image, and then I'm just going to go to File and Export and override the existing image. So let's just do that really quickly here. Save. Yes, I do want to replace it. There we go. Okay, so now, as you can see, nothing has really changed here, not with the link, not with the import. But if I select the link and go to Manage Links, or alternatively, I can go to the Insert tab and then go to Manage Links here, go to Images. Here we can see both of them. So this is the linked one. I can go here to Reload and then hit Apply. click OK, and now you can see here that the top image, the link, has now the new position of the sofa and the new position of the table here, or the dining room, and then on the imported one it doesn't. But if I go to manage links again, go to images and go to our import and reload that one, it is going to make that change. So it doesn't really matter have you loaded this in or have you linked it, it is going to still allow you to update that image. The only difference where I have noticed a change is, and for that let's just go quickly back to Photoshop and make an additional change. So let's say that here, alternatively, I do want to have this sofa back here, and then perhaps I wanted to add a couple of these chairs and a table. I know this is probably a horrible example to architects that I'm designing a floor plan in Photoshop, but that's okay. I hope you forgive me. So anyways, here I've made another change, and now if I go and then just save that, or sorry, export that and replace that original image. Yes, I do want to replace it. Okay, so now if I go back into Revit and if I just close this and then let's just save it really quickly. So let's save it as project 1. That's okay. So I have saved it, and now if I open that project again, now the link, as you'll see quickly here, the link will update to the change of the image, and then here the import did not change. So just with closing down the project and opening it up again, the link did change, but the import did not. But again, it's an easy fix with an import, so just go manage links, reload, apply, okay, and as you can see now, there's that change. So it's not too much, but yeah, I guess it does something. So there is a small difference. Okay, now let's select these two, let's unpin them and delete them, and now let's place a wall. So actually let's go with 4 walls. So I'm just going to place 4 walls here, go to the 3D view. There we go, we have 4 walls. And now let's say I want to place that image, but I want to place it on a wall and I want it to be visible in all views. So when we've placed that image here on the bottom, so when I've imported it or if I've linked it, when you place it here, if you go to the 3D view, it's not visible, so you cannot see it there. You can only see it in the view where you've placed it. If I go to the site plan, again, I don't see it, so it's really view specific. But there is a different option, and that is the decal. So you can use a decal, so you just go here to place decal, but because we don't really have any decals, we have to create a new decal, and then we can place that image as a decal, and it is going to be visible in 3D views. So let me show you that. So for that, you just go here to create a new decal. We can call it floor plan image. Okay, and as you can see, this is a new decal, and then you go here to source and you basically link up that image. Now you can make some changes to this image, and I actually have a video. I've done it a while back. It's like one of my first videos on the channel. I show you how to use a decal for a fire in a fireplace. It's actually really cool. So I am going to link it up below the video and also up in the cards. So just make sure to check that out. I think it's a really cool use of the decal tool. And that video will give you a bit more information on all of these settings here, but I think they're pretty much self-explanatory. We have brightness, reflectivity, transparency, a finish. I like to put it as a matte finish. We have luminance, so if you apply luminance, it can actually kind of cast light, which is cool. And then we also have the bump pattern and the bump amount, so you can apply an image bump pattern, and then also you have cutouts. Again, you can add an image for cutouts, and then you can use this for different applications. But anyways, let's now stop there, and I'm just going to show you how to apply this. So let's click OK. And now I can apply that decal, and as you can see, it's just going to recognize faces here, and then you can just place it wherever you want. So I'm just going to go back to modify. So I have placed 2 here, and you can notice that they are just simple rectangles. Well, the reason for that is here we have to go to the realistic view mode in order to be able to view these images. So that's basically how they work. They're only visible in realistic view mode. But there you go. So you can place images like this. You can control the height, the width, you can log the proportions, and so on. And then you can also make changes to those decals by going here to decal types. So it brings up this original menu. You can create new decals. Again, you can make some changes and so on. So that is all of the kind of settings for those decals. But what's good about decals is if I go now to, I don't know which elevation this is. Okay, it's the south elevation. Here, if I go to realistic view mode, I can still see that decal. So it's actually a 3D element. It's not like it's not view specific, which is really cool. So there you go. That's how you use images as decals. And then finally, let's talk about how to export images from Revit so you can use them. I really liked using this during my student days just because it makes my life so much easier to just export a quick JPEG. I take it to the print shop. They give me like an A4 size image, and then I can just take that to my professor. We can draw all over it. I think it's a quick way of exporting views. So to export views as images, obviously don't do this for kind of completed panels and for your sheets and so on, but for just quick views, just to kind of play around, perhaps draw over it, I think exporting as images, it's a really good solution. So what you want to do is you simply want to make sure that you have your extents set up, so your crop region. So I'm just going to set that up. So here I only need this kind of a set of walls. So first you want to set that up, and then you just want to make sure that when you select it, here under crop size you have good dimensions. So here it's set to 213 by 177. So that's basically how large this image will be once it's exported as a JPEG, and when you print it, it's going to be this size. Now if you want to change the size, you might be tempted to go here and change it. So for example, type in 300 and hit apply. But it's only going to become wider, and you don't want that. See how it just changed the width? So you don't want that. So let's cancel out of this. It's going to bring us back. So what you want to do in order to change the scale or the size of the image for your 3D views, and this is only for orthographic 3D views, you have to change the scale. So you have to change the scale, and also this works with floor plans as well. So if I change the scale to 1:50, now when I select the crop size, it's going to give me a much larger number here. So that's just something to keep in mind. I'm just going to go back to 1:100, and then to export the image, you just go here to the file menu, you go to export. You scroll down, you go here to images and animation, you go to image, and then you get this export image dialog. So here you basically set up where you want to export that, and here you have the export range. So basically, are you exporting just this particular image, or do you want to export multiple images from your project? Now in this case we're just using the current one, but you can go with selected views, and then you can just come in here and select all the views that you want to export, which is also really useful. But let's go with just current view. Here we have some options like, do you want to view links in blue, do you want to hide reference planes, and so on. Then we have the image size. So here you can fit it to a certain pixel range, or what I do prefer is to go to zoom to and then 100, and then this is going to give you the kind of the accurate actual size. And then finally here we have the format. Now I prefer going with JPEG medium. I have tried lossless or something like that. Doesn't really give me an improvement in the image quality, but it does increase the image size, so I don't think it's worth it. And then finally here we have the raster image quality. If you're printing this or if you're printing this on paper, I suggest at least 300, perhaps 600, but it might not be necessary. So I think 300 is the sweet spot. For viewing on the screen, you can go with 72, but in most cases I just go with 300 because it looks much better. So I'm just going to go with that, and then that will export that image. Here it is. So here is that exported image, and yeah, there we go. Now, just quickly before we end this video, I just want to show you one more thing. So let's go to level 1. Let's give us a quick camera view. So this is a quick perspective 3D view, and then let's look up. Okay, let's say oops. Okay. Let's say we're happy with this, add some shadows, whatever, and let's say that we want to export this. Well, when you have perspective views, it's a little bit different. You don't have the scale to change the size of the image. So what you do is you select the frame, you go to size crop, and then here you just go here to set it to scale, and then when you make a change here, it will actually apply the change to the actual image. So if I say I want this to be 250 and hit apply, click OK, it is going to make that change. Now, nothing will really change on screen, but when you export it, it will be much larger. And then it's the same process. You just go to File, Export, you find the image, there we go. You go to zoom to 100 and you set up where you want to export, you click OK, and you're done. So that's basically how we export images from Revit. So there you go. I hope you have learned pretty much everything that there is to know about images in Revit. There's not too much, but I think I've covered everything. Please tell me in the comment section below if you have any other suggestions or solutions for images. And also, if you want to get access to all of my Revit project files, they are available on my Patreon page. So that's going to be linked up just below this video in the description, and then also up in the cards above. So make sure to check it out. Thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to check out my website, balkanarchitect.com, for more Revit courses. There I have over 120 hours of content, and I'm adding more each week. Make sure to subscribe for more videos, and also I've added a video over there that might interest you as well.